What if the wisdom hidden by secret societies down the ages could actually shift your reality in an instant? Unlocking what's called 33rd degree knowledge shifted everything for me, and it can be surprisingly simple to learn. So in this video, I'm going to show you the actionable steps to harness this powerful method for yourself so that you can start creating reality in the ways that you want. It is no secret, today at least, that secret societies exist. There are some that are much more known now, like the Freemasons. That's kind of the one that in the zeitgeist everyone kind of knows about now. But there's plenty more like that that are relatively unknown and go on as well. But today we're going to focus on the Freemasons and what's called the 33rd degree, which at least is in the public eye is the highest designation or highest level that you can be in Freemasonry. Again, there are theories that there are things that go beyond this, and that's probably true. But at the 33rd degree, certain information is given on how to create your reality. And again, this information isn't something that is unique to Freemasonry. It is something that can be traced back all the way back to ancient Egyptian mystery schools. And then today, it's just known as Freemasonry, of people who kind of took this information and ran with it down the ages. Whenever Freemasonry was created, there was the Knights Templar and other such societies as well before that, and there were different names and everything else. So you don't need to get too caught up in the group or the name. Understand this is wisdom that can be dated back thousands of years to ancient Egypt, possibly even before that time. And what this wisdom, what this knowledge can give you is an understanding, a better understanding of how our reality actually operates and how you can operate in cooperation with reality to create what it is you want in your life. One of the greatest secrets I think that's being suppressed from the masses is that you are a powerful creator. Yes, you who is watching this, you are a powerful creator, but there have been groups of people, many organizations that have done an amazing job of convincing us that this is not the case, that we are actually fragile, kind of helpless creatures that need authority and other things in order to function, but it just isn't true. When you gain access to this knowledge and you actually understand and know how to use it, you will tap back into those creative powers that have always laid within you, but maybe have just been dormant. And so in this video, if you can get into it and really be open to it, it can help you to reactivate these creative powers, these abilities to create reality in the ways that you want. And this information that was never meant to be hidden from view, but was coveted by some of the most elite, and again, those in secret societies, but it is something that will work for everyone who seeks it out and commits to it and actually utilizes it. So without further ado, let's jump into what it is, how you can use it, so that you can start creating your reality in the ways that you want. So you and I and most people have probably heard of the idea of cause and effect. But very few people know what this is at a very deep level. Very few people have explored, how the far reaches of cause and effect, because a lot of us have not been conveyed how crucial this is and how much of a first principle, a core principle to how our universe works, cause and effect is. And when we usually think of cause and effect, we're talking about the physical realm, right? That's how we learned about cause and effect, usually in school and from others. A lot of emphasis was put on cause and effect in the physical plane, right? For example, if I slap myself, if that's the cause, the effect is it's probably going to be painful. If I push this, I'm going to have the effect of it moving in that direction, right? So we understand this on the physical plane, but what people at the 33 degrees in Masonry, or in Freemasonry, in the Brotherhood, in other societies that are in these high-ranking places, or even as they're kind of progressing through the ranks, they are taught deeper levels of cause and effect for a crucial reason, because our universe is governed by cause and effect. Now, that might seem odd, because it's like, well, the universe isn't completely physical, and yes, you're right. Exactly right. Cause and effect is not something that just happens on the physical plane. As above, so below, as below, so above. That is the principle of correspondence, one of the things that's said in the principle of correspondence, which means that every plane is in correspondence with each other. Meaning if something exists on the physical plane as far as a principle, it also has correspondence on another plane. Meaning the mental plane, the spiritual plane, and the physical plane are all communicating with each other, all connected to some degree. And when it comes to cause and effect, they are massively connected. Something I've said on this channel quite a bit is that the outer world follows the inner world. And this is the principle that explains why this is the case: cause and effect. The causes on the spiritual and mental planes especially create the effects you are seeing in your physical realm. Everything you are seeing, and I mean everything, in your physical reality is an effect that typically was caused on the spiritual or mental plane. Now, why is this important to understand? First and foremost, is to understand that cause and effect is far more far-reaching than a lot of us were taught. Another reason is because it's usually this cursory subject, or this subject on the periphery, where we've kind of heard it as like an axiom, about cause and effect. We hear certain axioms or sayings about it, but we're never really in school or anywhere else deeply taught about it, except maybe from, again, a physical scientific perspective, without taking into account the mental and spiritual perspective, which is where it is most influential. And it's crucial to understand this, because when you understand cause and effect beyond just the physical, and in fact everything pretty much in the physical is usually an effect coming from a different plane of existence, we can start using it more intentionally to create the effects that we want in the physical. If you know the law of attraction, this is how the law of attraction works. This is how manifestation works. The effects are your manifestations, and you're always manifesting. And everything that's manifested in your life, which has come into physical reality, if we look at manifestation, I look at it as what you have brought forth into the physical, what you have drawn forth, attracted forth in the physical. What you have manifested, what was once not a part of your physical reality that now is. You have brought forth. And everyone's doing this in some regard. You may not think you manifested that maybe home you don't like, or that relationship you don't enjoy with someone, or that person who's antagonistic, or whatever else, but the fact of the matter is you have. And it is an effect from causes that happen in the spiritual and the mental planes of existence. Now, understanding this gives us such a leg up when it comes to reality creation, which is what this channel and this video is all about. How can we start to more intentionally create our reality? Now, that also, a lot of us, when we think of reality creation, we think of what's in our physical, which is great, and that's fine. But we have to understand that what we see in our physical is not created from the physical. What we see in our physical is created from the mental and the spiritual. So what I'm getting at with this is that the things you're seeing are effects of certain causes, so what can we do about those causes? Well, the more connected you are to what you are, the more you're going to get favorable effects in the physical world, because again, the outer world follows the inner world. If you are focused on energies like joy and love and peace and things of this nature, basically harmonious emotions, you are more connected to your spirit, to what you are. When you are vibrating out, transmitting out, which you are doing 24/7, by the way, you are transmitting out signals and receiving signals 24/7. Your brain is the strongest transmitter and receiver that man knows. You are sending those signals out and receiving those signals back. And the signals you receive back are determined by what you're sending out. Like attracts like. You send out joy, you send out peace, you send out gratitude, you send out courageousness, you send out willingness and acceptance, you send out these things, and you're going to have more of those things come back. In its simplest form, you'll have similar thoughts. In its more complex form, you'll start developing certain manifestations in your life if you focus on it long enough. Because thought eventually matters, as in it becomes matter. Focused thought matters. Becomes matter. It comes from the mental realm with help from the spiritual realm into the physical realm through cause and effect. And so how can you practically start to understand this or put into practice this understanding? Well, here's one of the biggest ones I've found, is your mental diet. What are you allowing into your mentality? Environment beats will, meaning if you're watching things, putting yourself into certain environments that influence you in certain ways, you are transmitting that out because you are acquiescing to that which is around you, to your environment. Meaning, if you're around a bunch of negative people, we've all heard this saying, if you hang around five, not to be kind of abrasive, but five losers, or people who are just, they're not intentional with their life, they're insanely negative, whatever else it is, you will be the sixth. If you hang out with five drug users, let's say heroin addicts, you will most likely become the sixth. But if you hang out with five driven, self-developed, oriented people, you will become the sixth. Why is that? Because environment beats will. You have five other people that are transmitting and receiving, you have group energy, you have collective energy in that group of people that is very powerful and insanely hard to resist of one person who's trying to go against it. You will most likely conform to it. And this is why it's so crucial what groups we put ourselves in and what we expose ourselves to. So exposing yourself to videos like this helps seed these ideas in your mind and helps them grow so that they are fruitful, so that you can then use them. But then if you go off, watch this video and then don't apply what's in it, or go off and watch, a bunch of distraction-oriented videos on YouTube that calibrate at lower levels of consciousness, or hang out with negative people, or go and complain to someone, or whatever else it is, well, then you're going to start transmitting that out. And you have to understand, this transmitter doesn't have an on and off switch. It doesn't go like, oh, okay, hey, I want to go watch some negative bullshit. Can I turn this off for a bit? No, you will be transmitting that out. Now, that's not to say you need to get all anal about this and perfectionist, and I gotta be 100% transmitting this shit out that I actually want. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, how often can you stay there? Something one of my mentors said to me is, it's not about if you fall off the horse, it's how quickly do you get back up on the horse. Because if you think I need to be up on the horse, and in this case that means being in high conscious or thinking good thoughts that produce good results, it's not, if you're trying to be on that horse the whole time, like 100% of the time, you're setting yourself up for failure, you're setting yourself up for guilt and shame, which is going to keep you off the horse longer. It's not about that. You do your best to stay on the horse, boom, you fell off, there was a bump in the road, you got hooked into something, that's fine. How quickly can you wake up and get back on the horse? How quickly can you wake up and start thinking more along the lines of what you actually want to bring about, to start feeling better? Feeling better now, feeling good now is one of the most crucial things you can do, because again, this is the spiritual aspect of it. The closer you get to what it is you actually are, the higher levels of consciousness, which come through emotion, energy, emotion, the more you're going to manifest favorable things, the more you're going to create a harmonious reality for yourself. So cause and effect is so much deeper than just the physical. What you are seeing on the physical is simply an effect of where you have been spending most of your time in the spiritual and the mental. And so, again, the practical application here, control your mental diet. Think of your mental diet like your physical diet. If I eat ice cream and candy and donuts all the time, what kind of body am I going to have? Am I going to have some health issues? Probably. Yes. Am I going to be able to play sports and do other things I want to do that are active? It's going to be quite difficult. Am I going to be able to, am I going to just struggle to do day-to-day things if I keep that up? Absolutely. I would manifest a pretty unhealthy body if I ate that way, if my diet was like that. But if I eat very clean and I eat very organic and whole foods and get all the nutrition that my body needs, and maybe, supplement or do whatever else I need, I fast, I do maybe certain cleanses to remove crap from my body and whatever else it is. Do you think then I'll have a healthy body? Absolutely. It's predictable. In fact, I would bet any amount of money I would, if I took care of all those things, and I'm genuinely doing it without lying, I'm being honest. The mental diet is the same. When you genuinely feed yourself good information, good energy, you then act upon that energy and you're creating this momentum in that direction, you will manifest differently. You will start to manifest favorable things. You will start living in the places you want to live in. You will start attracting in the people you want to attract in. You will start creating win-win-win situations. You will start doing work that you love and enjoy that also provides for you financially. You will start just, again, whatever it is for you, your manifestations, those will start coming in. Once you start looking at the causes on these other planes of existence, understanding. And again, this is crucial. This is like one of the things I always try and have people take away from these videos. The outer world follows the inner world. So the next thing I want you to understand when it comes to reality creation, and again, the masters, the high degree masons, the high degrees in other, not everyone uses the degree classification or value system, but ultimately people higher up in certain organizations and societies who are aware of this wisdom, people who study the Hermetic principles or like similar wisdom, right? That's all coming from a really similar genesis or source. Ultimately understand the importance of this next thing as well. And I've kind of already mentioned it, but this is also the principle of vibration. And you're aware of vibration because law of attraction and everything else has come to the, into the zeitgeist, into the culture in the last kind of 10, 20 years, but this principle has been known about for thousands of years. Law of attraction is not some new age thing, and a lot of people who call it new age, I just kind of always grin or kind of smile to myself when people think this is new age bullshit or whatever else it is. It's not. Actually, law of attraction has been, people have been aware of it For a very long time, people, hundreds of years ago were calling it even the law of attraction. It's not some new ageism. It is a very real thing that those who had this wisdom were aware of, because it is, again, another law of the universe. Now, when it comes to the law of vibration, I just want to mention one thing because it's crucial to understand. And again, the masters understand this at the high levels in these organizations. They understand this, and that's why they're able to manifest crazy things. That's why they're able to live unbelievable lives on this planet, filled with opulence if that's what they choose, filled with incredible relationships, filled with whatever it is their heart desires, essentially, because they understand these principles. And so with the principle of vibration, the one thing I want you to recognize is that everything is always vibrating. Even the grossest form of matter is moving and in motion and vibrating and changing. Now, the time in which it changes, the perceived time, is going to be longer because it is a very dense form of vibration, but it is still vibrating. It's vibrating kind of like this, to the point where you might not even be able to perceive it. Like if I look at a rock out there, it doesn't look like it's moving. It doesn't look like it's vibrating. But there are certain instruments we can actually take a look at now and look at that rock through that instrument, and you could see the molecules vibrating in it. You could see the makeup, to the smallest degree that we can perceive with our tools, that it is moving, that it is vibrating. It is not still. It just seems that way to our perceptive tools that we have, our five senses. And why this is important to understand is, bringing it back to cause and effect, you are always creating this. You are always a creator. You are always influencing. You are always transmitting. Everything is always vibrating. You are always sending out a signal. You are always giving off a resonance, so to speak, a transmission that is always being received and sent back. And again, I emphasize this once again, relating it to this principle of vibration, to really, again, drive home the point that the way you're thinking is always influencing your reality. The way you're feeling is always influencing your reality. But it's not about, again, us doing it all the time. Here's a really good way to look at it. It's, where do you live and where do you vacation, or where do you visit? You see, most people, they visit emotions like joy and happiness and fulfillment, or they visit good thoughts as a contrast to what they usually think about, which is very negative stuff. And this is why the lives of those people are very stressful, not favorable. Even when we think they have conditions that they should be grateful for, they're not. My mentor once said that he worked with a client who was worth $700 million, and he was miserable, like actually depressed, because he wasn't worth $1 billion. It's not exactly the kind of wealth you probably have in mind. That's kind of a prison, right? And so ultimately, it's because even though this person obviously tapped into how to create abundance and wealth physically, they clearly didn't understand some other things like this cause and effect stuff we're going over, or vibration, or some of these other principles. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been feeling that way. Ultimately, what you are transmitting out is always having an effect. You are always transmitting. You are always vibrating. Everything always is. And that's crucial to understand when it comes to creating your reality. Because it's easy to think, here's a perfect example. It's easy to think, hey, I did my meditation today. I watched that inspiring video. I'm just going to put my hair down and just relax for the rest of the day. And when people say relax, they go watch Netflix, they go watch YouTube videos. But again, there's no on or off switch with this. You cannot turn off your transmission. You can't turn it back on. When you feel like it, you are always transmitting. And so how often each day are you spending on your vision? How often each day are you honestly feeling good now, or feeling better now, again, which gets you closer to what you are on the spiritual plane? How often each day are you changing thoughts that you don't want to entertain to the ones you do want to entertain? And how often each day are you focused on the thoughts that you know are going to matter in your life? Understanding you do get what you think about most of the time. And we mix that in with the spiritual aspect of it and how you're feeling as well. That's kind of the secret key to it. But your thoughts also elicit emotion, right? When you, for example, think about something you love right now. Think about something that just sets lights your heart up. Seriously, think about it. Did your energy just change? Do you have this kind of draw to smile like I am now and just really feel good? Yeah, that's the power of your thoughts. What did you do? You're standing or sitting or doing whatever you were doing 10 seconds ago. The only thing that changed is you thought differently. The only thing that changed is you got on the horse and decided to think in a different direction, which produced a different result, a different effect, which was a different feeling. And you can do this the reverse way when you get good with feelings as well. You can go for the feeling and make yourself feel good, because sometimes you can start feeling good for no reason, right? You can actually just focus on the idea of love and just start feeling love. This takes a bit of practice, but you can. And then you might find that that feeling attracts very loving thoughts. So you're in this loving feeling and you're thinking of people you love. You're thinking of things that have happened that you love. You might even be able to bask just in that feeling without any thoughts, which is a very pure bliss moment. I'll just say. Those thoughts, as you keep thinking them consistently, start to matter, start to turn into matter. But you need the accumulation. You're not going to start bringing about something because you thought something once. You're not going to suddenly change your world because you meditate for 10 minutes a day. What are you doing with the rest of that time? How often each day are you in a higher conscious place? How often each day are you focused on the mental diet, on being closer to spirit, on these other things that we're talking about? And the more time you spend there intentionally, doing these things, getting on the horse, you will absolutely, I promise, guarantee it, you will start seeing differences in the effects in your life. You will start seeing changes. And if you stick with it long enough, you're going to start seeing unbelievably amazing changes that at a certain point in your life you wouldn't have even believed possible. So I've mentioned a few principles here that you can use, and the one I really focused on was cause and effect and understanding that at a deeper level. You know, understanding any of these principles is so amazing. Even going deep into one will actually lead you to understanding other ones better, but will influence your life in amazing ways, because these are what's called first principles. They're core principles. They're fundamental principles in how our universe operates. And do you think if you understand how the universe operates, you can then start to move in a way that works with how the universe operates versus unintentionally doing things that work against it? Of course you can. How much time and attention are you giving to the spiritual and mental plane? How much time and attention in the physical plane are you giving to things that really aren't serving you? Now, these principles I went over, I kind of emphasized one principle, and with all of these principles called the Hermetic principles, the 7 Hermetic principles, I can make hours and hours and hours long content on each principle individually because there's so much depth to them. But if you're curious on what principles these are, how they all tie together, and you want just more of an overview of essentially the first principles of the universe, the principles that govern how our world works, I'd go watch this video next where I went over the 7 Hermetic principles. It's a deep dive into each one and gives you enough information to get started and some tools to get started. So I'd go watch that next.